Okay, and we should be live. Welcome everyone to Harp and Guitar, People and Music.
Hi, folks.
So I want to thank everybody for joining us here once again today. I know it's been a while, so welcome back. Of course, this is Whiskey Stills, joining you as always, and with me, my partner in crime, Monk Music. How you doing, Monk?
I'm doing very well, if a little tired. It's very early here.
Well,
Good
I
morning.
certainly appreciate you being up. You're the guy that wakes up the rooster, so
Yeah,
certainly appreciate that.
yeah.
You
Well,
got the
generally,
Banty Rooster Blues.
indeed, indeed. I have a
So
little red
Charlie Patton.
rooster. Oh, sorry. Yes, of course.
Oh yeah, Little Red Rooster. That's another great blues tune, of course.
Yeah,
There's a lot of
Stones do.
rooster songs in
Yeah,
the blues, actually.
yeah, yeah.
So, for those of you just joining us, I want to welcome you once again to Harp and Guitar, People and Music, and this is Blues Chat number 5.
Gosh.
And this is where we get together, once a month or so. We try to, anyways, and just kind of Monk and I sit down and have a little chat and discuss maybe a new blues lick that he's learned or a new album that I've picked up or something like that. But today is a very special occasion. At least here in my neck of the woods, it is September the 16th. Over where Monk is, it's already the 17th. But officially, September the 16th is Mr. B.B. King's birthday. So I thought we'd come on and just do a quick impromptu live blues chat and just celebrate the king of the blues, the ambassador of the blues, Mr. B.B. King. And he's
Yeah.
certainly a favorite around here, isn't he, Monk?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes. Big time. Yeah. He played a lot in the key of C and B flat. Impenetrable. I remember
What
trying to
are,
copy B.B. King in the 80s.
yeah.
Yeah.
What are some of your favorite BB songs? Like, what are some of the ones that you remember hearing at that time or just prior to the 80s where you
Oh,
decided to want to start to play like that?
how blue can you get?
Yeah.
I gave you a $10 meal. He said, thanks for the snack. I bought you a Ford. He said, where's my Cadillac? I gave you 7 children. You never said that. Sorry, now you want to send it back.
Classic.
Yeah, that's the sort of stuff. 3 a.m. blues, that opening is a lovely one.
Yeah. Yeah, play us a little bit of that one there just to
And a
put you on
bit
the spot.
Hang on a minute now. So okay. Can you hear this? Can you hear that? Okay.
Yep. Sounds good.
That's the sort of stuff.
Mm.
But getting
Fantastic.
And his tremolo, you know.
Yes, his tremolo work is just absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, it'll make a passage and finish with the trems up. And stuff like that.
Yeah, fantastic stuff.
There's only one that the 3M blues riff, that's particular standout. No. And of course the BB box, which is box 2 in the minor pentatonic, is where he lived a lot of the time. Also the pinch too. If you're taking the key of A, you've got that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I did that a lot. So
Yeah, he
these
was
are the
the king of the
guitar.
bend. He was the master of that tremolo, that
Yeah.
beautiful sort of ringing, the ringing of a bell sound
Mm-hmm.
that he basically created. And you and I have talked about this story before, where he loved the sound of the bottleneck, the slide on the blues guitar,
Yeah,
but he was never able to play with that technique. So he developed his own technique where he would what he called trill his hand as he was bending the note, and it would sort of emulated or copied that bottleneck slide sound, and he ended up creating a whole new sound that's whenever you hear it, you think, oh, that's BB King right there.
yeah, and I don't have enough of his moves down, so apologies to you purists out there. That was a dreadful impression. Um, I'll have to. Actually, it's September, isn't it? I said I was going to look at his main riffs this month, and I've been a laggard. I've no excuse. So I shall do. I shall do exactly that. I shall do a series of fanboy BB King guitar lessons. I said lessons.
Well,
Right,
he's
go on
had
then. Let's be generous. Pretend they're lessons. It's actually me just noodling around, showing off. But well, trying to.
well, I mean, this channel isn't about showing off and that sort of
No,
thing. It's
exactly. Yeah,
about
you know what I mean. Just having a
the only
go.
showing off that we do around here is showing off our
Yeah.
passion and our love for this
Yeah.
beautiful musical art form, right? So,
Yep. You're right.
yeah,
I misspoke.
it's
I
just for
misspoke.
fun, and you're right.
Indeed.
You know,
As I was
we
saying.
have a good time around here discussing the blues, and
Yeah.
you know, we're definitely not professional musicians by any stretch. Although you're much, well, no, you're a professional musician. You've been in bands and played professionally and
Yeah.
gotten paid for gigs. So there you go.
Yeah, that's no guarantee of quality. But
Well, yeah, you know, it is what it
yeah,
is, right?
yeah, yeah, it's about the passion for the music, without a shadow of a doubt. If I think I'm, you'll have to pardon my voice, folks. It's what time is it? It's very very early.
It's just before 5 a.m. there, your
After
time.
5 in the morning. So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm due up anyway. What was I going to say? Yes, we've got a new subscriber.
Yes,
Who's a,
Curtis Martin.
yes,
So,
indeed. So he's
oh
got
no,
some
sorry, Curtis Walker. My mistake.
Curtis Walker, yeah, who is
Curtis
actually
Walker.
named after Curtis Mayfield.
Yeah, that's cool.
There you go. That's what he said to me anyway. He's a
Curtis Mayfield was a great guitar player, actually.
yeah. His brother's he says he's a blues player. So shout out to you, gentlemen. Please subscribe and share.
Yes, and shout out to Very Benjamin Life, who recently subscribed as well.
Yes, lovely.
So today we're just quickly discussing B.B. King, the ambassador of the blues, the king of the blues. Born this day, September 16th, in 1925, in India. This is a tough one for me to say. Indianola, Mississippi.
Wow,
And
1925.
grew up as a
Sweet.
farmer.
Yeah.
And when he was in his teens, got promoted to tractor driver, where he made a little bit more money. And this allowed him to be able to afford to only work 5 days a week instead of 6 days a week on the farm.
Gosh.
And that enabled him to practice even more. And then he started heading into town and showing his stuff on the guitar at, you know, local talent shows. And he just was cutting everybody's head. And basically, word got out, and he was invited to see Mr. Sam Phillips in Memphis, Tennessee, and do some test recordings, and the rest is history.
Amazing.
But he started his career actually not so much in Memphis, Tennessee, but in West Memphis, Arkansas, just across the Mississippi River. Because at that time, the state of Tennessee was a dry state, prohibition, you see, no alcohol
Oh,
permitted.
right.
Whereas across the river in Arkansas, the booze was flowing. That delicious corn liquor was just a flowing. And that's where the party was happening, was in West Memphis, Arkansas. and over in Helena as well, another town nearby. So that's what BB would do on Friday nights and Saturday nights. Is he'd head over there and destroy everybody in talent shows. And word got out that this Riley B. King, the Blues Boy, the Beale Street Blues Boy from Memphis, Tennessee, was going to be in town, and he was, his reputation preceded him because at this point already in the mid 40s, late 40s, he was already highly skilled.
All right.
So,
Okay.
and again, like I said, he grew up hearing all kinds of fantastic blues and jazz guitarists. Some of his biggest influences was the Texas bluesman Blind Lemon Jefferson, who plays very complicated and intricate chord patterns with lots of polyrhythms. An amazing guitarist. If you hear any old Blind Lemon stuff, you'd swear it was two guitarists at once. And BB was also influenced by T-Bone Walker, who was actually a protege of Blind Lemon. And T-Bone was born in Louisiana, and at an early age moved to Texas. So he's another sort of a cross between a Creole jazz guitarist and a Texas blues guitarist. And of course, Charlie Christian, isn't that right, Monk? BB was highly influenced by Charlie Christian too, wasn't he?
Jazzer. But the advent of the pickup as well, the electric pickup, Charlie Christian helped develop that, didn't he?
That's right, yeah. One of the earliest electric guitar pioneers. And you're right, a great jazz guitarist.
Yeah, you could say B.B. King grew as the electric guitar grew.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at the timings, I think that the electric guitar started in the 30s, didn't it? 2030.
In the
Strapped on
early to
a.
mid 30s, yeah.
Does he still have Charlie Christian pickups now? The original sort of coil pickup, I believe. But yeah, you could almost say he's developed his guitar around the technology, because
Yeah,
to get the BB King tone, you really absolutely need to have the setting on the amp it's quite a loud setting in order to get the tremolo to ring out.
yeah.
Because
As
it's
a matter of fact, I'm not even sure if there are any recordings of BB playing acoustically. Off the top of my head, I don't think so.
no, I don't think I've ever heard one.
I remember hearing a story that BB told. I can't remember where I heard it, but it was an interview. It was on a radio station or something. And he was saying that he did try to play acoustic quite often because he wanted to sort of broaden his sound. And during that time, it was the early to mid 60s, and there was that whole blues revival. And they were sort of rediscovering all these bluesmen from the 30s, like Son House and Mississippi John Hurt. And these guys all played acoustic, of course. But BB just, he said he played for a while and practiced and got pretty good. But in his words, Lucille didn't like it very much. So he just stuck to Lucille. So, and again, BB's influences also included his very own cousin, Bucka White. Mr. Booker Washington White, actually, is his full name, Bucka White, who plays a fantastic slide guitar in a really aggressive, kick you in the ass kind of blues. And he plays it on a steel guitar with a slide. And Bucka will use anything as a slide. He'll use a knife blade, a bottleneck, a piece of pipe, chicken bone, beef bone. He doesn't care. And
Really,
again,
a boat.
he can make that thing sing. And BB was heavily influenced by his cousin Bucka, and that's really, he loved the tone that Bucka would get playing that bottleneck style. But like I said, BB just couldn't get the hang on it. But it was a blessing in disguise because, like we alluded to earlier, he ended up inventing his own sound that so many people have tried to copy. You know, that BB bend with the tremolo. It's just amazing.
Yeah, he bends. It's interesting. He bends on the what's the note? G. Hang on. be a B. Can't be a B. It's a C. Whatever the note is in the minus in the pentatonical bend, the if it's a I can't think. If it's key of A, he'll bend the C. Yeah, bend the C. A, B, C, bend the third. So you get a. It's a very classic BB note to bend. Is that you've got your standard bend, which would be. But they bend the. It's this note. That one. I'm trying to ape his technique, doesn't it? Which I could never do. You got to get your thumb off the back of the neck. It's just pivoted up. It's hard to do. See, again, that technique is improved by the use of the semi-acoustic and the resonance and the slight overdrive, the slight what do you call it? Feedback nature of semi-acoustic lends itself to doing his trem. So the actual nature of the technology helps with the
well,
trem.
and kind of like how Riff. By the way, howdy to Riff Magos and Whoosh Whoosh in the chat. Howdy, fellas. But like Riff is alluding to, he's always heard BB's sound described as a balance between clean and crunch.
That's right. It's on the edge of crunch.
Because he wasn't a flashy player that would play a lot of with a lot of speed, but he was a virtuoso, and he knew how to dance on that line between that clean, crisp sound and that sort of just the borderline of that sort of crunch or that overdrive and that reverb sort of sound, right?
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. He'd have it up quite loud, really quite loud to use that.
He was a smart guy, you know, like people automatically assume that these rural farmers from the 30s and 40s that became blues musicians, that they're all kind of just, you know, dull fellas, you know, but uneducated. And it's true, some of them couldn't read or write. Hell, Howlin' Wolf couldn't read or write until he was well into his 40s.
Gosh, really?
But somebody like BB was a professional in another aspect before he became a full-time professional musician. And he already had a great understanding of sound because he was a professional radio DJ at WDIA in, I think it was in Memphis, Tennessee, if I'm not mistaken. So, yeah, it was in Memphis. So he was a professional disc jockey. He would introduce songs, spin records. He would play live music himself on his guitar. He would advertise his upcoming gigs and shows, as well as do jingles for their sponsors. So he had a great understanding of this, like you were saying, this new burgeoning technology, right?
Yeah, so a lot of people, if you just because you don't know something doesn't mean to say you lacking in intelligence. I mean, inventing a whole style of music on your own, that's pretty clever, isn't it?
Yeah.
Incredible. No, it's pioneer stuff. It's creativity. Like, I don't think there can be any greater intelligence.
Well, it's hard to pigeonhole B.B. King because he was influenced by so many different sounds. I mean, obviously, he's a Chicago bluesman, especially towards the latter part of his career. But I mean, that's all based on the Mississippi Delta blues, which is what he initially learned. But again, he was heavily influenced by jazz. And of course, you can hear in his voice the influence in gospel. I mean, he sang in a gospel choir before he ever picked up a guitar. When he was a kid, he sang in the gospel choir in church. So you can hear that in the power of his voice. You can hear that soulful gospel influence to his singing as well. So I guess much like Ray Charles invented soul by combining gospel with blues, B.B. King sort of created his own style of soulful blues, you know, which guys like Magic Sam and Albert Collins and Albert King later on would, coming up behind B.B., would sort of pick up the mantle of this sort of soul blues. Bobby Blue Bland is another one that comes to mind, a beautiful soulful blues singer who toured a lot with BB in the 70s and 80s. So yeah, it's
Bobby
almost like
Blue.
yeah, Bobby Blue Bland, an amazing vocalist. He's pretty much the best stand-up bluesman. He doesn't play any instrument. He just stands and sings. And he sings
Gosh.
songs like "Grits Ain't Groceries" and "Eggs Ain't Poultry," like songs like that. And
Mm.
you can hear again the power in his voice. Kind of like Little Milton too, who toured with
Mm.
BB. And after BB got really famous and started touring the world, Little Milton took over BB's Chitlin circuit in the South, the little touring
All
circuit
right.
that went from Florida across the South into Texas and then up into parts of Missouri as well. So,
Chitlins. I wonder if it was influenced by Kenny Burrell.
what's that?
Kenny Burrell. Have you heard of Kenny Burrell? I think
Kenny
it's
Burrell?
Kenny.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's that. I used to play Kenny Burrell. Tried to play a Kenny Burrell tune called Organ Grinder Swing. Have you heard of that?
Or no, I've heard Organ Grinder by, I believe, John Lee Hooker.
It wasn't
I've never heard Organ Grinder Swing, no.
the Organ Grinders. I think it was the Organ Grinder. I used to play it. Hang on, I wonder if I still can. Just go to Google. I think it was Kenny Burrell. Just bear with me a second. Kenny Burrell was the guitarist on it. I think it was him. Yeah, it was Kenny Burrell playing guitar because he had Chitlin's Con Carney. He was on the Blue
Yes.
Note. I'm just Googling this, so I'm not knowledgeable. He was on the Blue Note label. So he must have
Yeah,
come
that
across BB King.
Chitlins con carne, also known sometimes as chili con carne, too, actually.
Yeah, Chitlin's Con Carney.
It's the same song.
Yeah, Kenny Burrell. What's the album called? He did Organ Grinder Swing. So the Organ Grinder Swing was insane, yes. Where's it go? Hang on. Here we go. Uh, hold on. No. There's a special version of C he's got. Can't remember it. I'll just it. That's it. Oh bloody hell. Hang on, I can't remember it. It's quite a jazzy. I'll have to practice. But yeah, that was a Kenny Burrell bit. So that
It sounds a
really,
actually, some of that sounded a little BB King-ish. I was
yeah,
recognizing it from
yeah, it's
I'm
yeah,
just trying to, I'm stuck on what
yeah.
that song is, though. Yeah, that's a BB King riff from that song. I'm just trying to remember the song, though.
Um, yeah. That's the Organ Grinder Swing solo. It was a Kenny Burrell, and he did the guitar. He had the hit with it. It was a keyboard player. I have to Google it.
Kenny Burrell.
Google it. Kenny Burrell. It wasn't his song. It was somebody else. The guitar.
Excuse me.
Oh, Organ Grinder Swing. Organ Grinders Swing. More of a jazz number. Well, that's what you're talking about. That sort of.
Yeah, that sort of jazzy swing kind of sound.
Jimmy Smith. It was
Jimmy Smith.
Jimmy
Oh,
Smith
okay.
featuring Kenny Burrell and Groovy Tate. And they had an album out called Organ Grinder Swing. It was used for a car advert over years ago, and I thought, oh, I really like that. So I actually got hold of a guitarist who was a jazzer, and he showed me how to play that. That's quite an involved. Oh, they've got it live here in '93. Wow, that's neat.
Nice.
Yeah, Organ Grinder Swing anyway. Because
Swing.
apparently there's one here, somebody on YouTube doing it here from 1936. It's the record they've got played. Wow. Gosh. Yeah, anyway, Kenny Burrell. And the weird thing about it, I used hammer-ons. Kenny Burrell did it all single picking. He did, instead of doing he did. It's hard to break that.
Oh, see, Kenny Burrell is listing some of his influences as Charlie Christian and Django Reinhardt and
There you
T-Bone
go.
Walker. So same as BB. BB's
Yeah.
influences were Django and T-Bone and Charlie Christian. So
Yeah,
yeah.
Django Reinhardt. That's another gear, that is.
Oh yeah, that's up a
Yeah.
level or two. That's he's.
Yeah.
I mean, Charlie Christian for me is probably the jazz guitarist, but Django's right up there. And you know who else too is Lonnie Johnson. I think I sent you a few links a
Yes,
while
you
back.
did. I've been listening to Another Night to Cry a lot.
Yes,
Another
Lonnie
Night to
Johnson was. I mean, he was one of the first to record a blues in the 20s, and his career lasted until he died in the mid to late 60s, I think. Just an incredible man. And he recorded literally hundreds of sides with everybody from Louis Armstrong, Charlie Christian. He recorded duets with white musicians, which at the time was unheard of.
Mm.
Just an amazing story behind Lonnie Johnson, born Alonzo Johnson, and he's from New Orleans, I believe.
Yeah, well, in the video link I think you sent me, it was, or one of them I watched it was Sonny Boy Williamson introducing him.
Yes, yeah.
And King of the Blues, Lonnie Johnson. It's really cool, like that.
Yeah, he was.
He was quite old at that point. Must have been. I don't know.
I think he was in his 70s at that point.
He wasn't very young, that's for sure. He just
Well,
picked up. So
he was born. Lonnie Johnson, I think, was born in 1900,
well,
and he died late 60s, maybe 1970, something like that. But again, and he played acoustic, but he would also play in the late 20s, early 30s. Well, in the early to mid 30s, he was starting to play acoustic with electric pickup. And he played, like I said, he's played for people like big sort of band type of ensembles like Louis Armstrong and Duke Ellington. But he also did a lot of. He still played in juke joints and like shitty dives in rural Mississippi at like Buckets of Blood and places like
yeah,
that. You know.
he definitely had a. You could tell he was comfortable playing with the trio.
I think
He
I think
because
Lonnie
on
was one of those guys that could play with anybody. He could play a
yeah,
duo, or he had trio, a quintet. He could play with an orchestra.
but it was live, and it's interesting technique. He has all downstrokes. A real interesting technique. All of them down, so it's quite quick for a downstroke guy.
Yeah, well,
The thing
probably a
with
lot of.
BBC, he used upstrokes as well. It's a lot of the original. I remember learning early on. I bought a book by a guy called Ivor Marantz. I don't know if you've heard of him.
No.
Guitar player. Well, he was a mate of George Benson. And I wasn't doing very well with the guitar, not that I ever did, but I wanted to learn how to pick quicker.
Right.
And thought, well, if I buy a book on pick technique, I might have a chance. Anyway, as luck would have it, Ivor Marantz produced a book in the, whenever it was, about, it was called Perfect Pick Technique.
Okay.
And I thought, well, that's got to be the one, hasn't it? So I bought that, and he explained how you can increase your speed by down up. as opposed to down down. Because if I play the blues, for example, that's all downstrokes.
Hmm.
But if you do down up and control it, it can get a lot more speed.
Right.
Whereas with downstrokes, there's only a limited speed you can get. That
Yeah.
doesn't necessarily mean that Lonnie Johnson always played downstrokes, but looking at what he played in that song, it was
That was a lot of his style, actually. And
yes,
it's because his playing is based on an older style of pre-blues or proto-blues. He was already an accomplished guitar player by the late 19 teens. You know,
yeah,
had his reputation been as big as his skill set at that time, he probably would have had recordings on those wax cylinders before they even went to the Shellac Platter 78 records, right? So,
mm. Anyway, it was interesting watching his down because I remember it in the book clearly stating that he was talking about various guitar players, and one of the ones it influenced was George Benson. And he talked about the angle. I know this is a little bit nerdy, but he talked about the angle of your pick and the grip that you
mhm.
use with your fingers, and he'd broken it down. I went through all this nerdy stuff, and he had it in this Ivan Ranson put it. He said, "This is how you should hold it. And the less plectrum that you show pick that you show, the more control you have. The harder it is, the more control you have. So the better players are very hard picks and
Right.
short.
Okay. Yeah.
In fact, the top, a lot of the top was off. Use a coin.
Really? Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, these coins because you get a sort of metallic thing. Plus, you get another range of sounds if you use a coin. It's a very hard attack. You get
That
a
makes sense, really, if you think about
and,
it.
and
That's
yeah, you can also get a scrape on the attack on the pick. So there's a lot to it if you really get really super nerdy about it.
sure. Well, I
But
mean, and a lot of the blues slide players too, depending on what song they're playing, they'll either employ the glass bottleneck slide
well,
or they'll
brass,
use a piece of metal pipe or brass pipe,
mm,
depending, right?
yeah, the
Or like I
friction
said,
on
or if you're Buck of White, you'll just use anything as a slide. You know,
whatever's
use a
close. Yeah,
cigarette lighter,
yeah,
pocket knife. He didn't care,
and
and he could use anything as a slide. He was that good.
incredible. Yeah, so yeah, the material affects the color and the friction, of course. But it's interesting this fella talking about. Anyway, and as that regards BB King, BB King's got a very hard pick, very hard attack, but great control with the right hand, and that's often missed. You hear a
Hmm.
lot about the trem, but his attack on the right hand was could be very, very hard to punch out that note, which is why he got great dynamics. He'd got great control. Bang! He'd pop out a note really hard on some of these runs. So and then he'd sort of back off, wouldn't he, and let it float into the air and disappear. So very, very
Sure,
tough.
yeah. Well, because
BB King,
I mean,
they
his
call him
style
King.
was it was a mishmash, like we were saying, of the Delta blues and jazz and
Yeah.
gospel and rock, and I mean, you name it, you know. And he was influenced by so many, and he was a big influence on tons of people. I mean, Buddy Guy, of course, talks about his strong friendship with BB King, but he also, in equal measure, talks about the influence that BB had on a young Buddy Guy. But guys like Eric Clapton and Stevie
Mm,
Ray Vaughan, Jeff Beck,
yeah.
Jimmy
All of them.
Page, all of these guys, you know, they all loved BB, and that was the other thing too, is he was a very kind and I mean, he was probably the blues' biggest star. And he it probably still is at this point. I would say that if you say to somebody blues and they say blues music, what's that? And you say, you know, BB King, oh, BB King, you know what I mean? Like they would recognize BB King.
Actually.
So
Yeah.
he's got to be the blues' biggest star. I mean, he
Mm,
brought blues from the fringes of music to the world stage. You know, he
mm.
brought blues to China and Russia and Japan and Africa. Amazing, right? So,
Yeah, absolutely great. Pioneers, like you say. Pioneer.
but he was all of that could have gone to his head but deep down he was still that southern, charming, intelligent, professional, driven man who was kind and always had good things to say about his influences, and always tried to he tried to be honest about why he started playing the blues. He didn't sugarcoat his upbringing, but he didn't try to make the world feel guilty for the way he was raised either. You know what I mean? He
No, no,
just
he said,
basically said it was what it was, and I wouldn't be BB King if it wasn't for that life that I had, and I wouldn't have played the blues, and I wouldn't have been able to share it with the world. So he was a very gracious and humble man.
incredible, great player. It's interesting watching that video. I don't know if you've seen it, the series from the 80s, I think it was. This fella interviewing BB King about his technique. And BB King was very polite and patient because this fellow was a total fanboy, which is fair enough. You know, if you get there in the room with the Guitar Hero, what you say, he'd start talking
Yeah,
about
yeah.
guitar playing. Surprise, surprise. So, and he's interviewing this guy, and this guy's interviewing BB King. He says, I notice you're bending the minor third, blah, 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 blah. BB King looks at him as if to say, was it? All right, okay.
Yeah, sure. Is that
I
what it
mean,
was? What did he say?
he was. I mean, he understood all the bits and pieces and the technique because he could talk. You know, because you could
Sure.
tell from the way he responded. But he really wasn't that. He said, "Well, you got to use your ears, man. You know, this is what it says to me." And he went, diddly, diddly, diddly. It was glorious watching him break down his own technique. So he was very well aware of what he was doing and how he was using it. And
Yeah, sure. And he's basically had
he yeah,
techniques his career, hasn't he?
he said, "Well, I'll use it like a sentence. I'll introduce." They did a little bit of an opening lick, and he says, "Well, it's got to have a point, and so I'll come to the point." And he play at the end of it, and it's amazing. So I've still not finished off that Buddy Guy song, but I'll have to start doing some BB King riffs this month. Um, I've been fits and starts. I'll have to do it because I think what I'll try to do is keep it under 10 minutes. I think what I'll have to try to do is keep it even shorter, say under 3 minutes, and just focus on a riff and talk about that. But it is very, very interesting how he's got very heavy strings, he's got a semi-acoustic, and he's got his amp just on the edge of crush, which
Mm-hmm.
incidentally is where I always used to play when we were doing the band, which is in a completely different genre, you know, the punk
Well,
stuff.
I think
But
that
it's just
helps
a
him to,
bit of crush.
yeah, I think that helps him to propel his unique sound is because um, even in just one song, not even going from one song to another song, where he can make you feel different emotions, but he can bring you through a sort of an up and down roller coaster of different emotions, even in one song. He can play, you know, a sort of a soft, quiet, lamenting sort of portion of a song, and then you said that all of a sudden he can come in with an attack, where it's, you know, it's in your face and ballsy, and then it kind of softens up again. And I think it's because, like you said, he's just on the edge of that crunch that he can sort of create that broader spectrum within his music, even right down to within one song.
Oh yes, got a ton of power, absolute ton of power. You can say it's like he's holding on. He's using that immense power coming out of the driven by the amps, but he's just holding it back. Just you know, I'm in control. It's
Well, the
because
other
if it just you slap the guitar, you'd have well. It's the endings of his songs. He never used any foot pedals,
no,
from what I can see. And if you watch how the band cracks up, he'll keep the volume up with the band, so he's holding back, and he uses volume knobs here and there. So
mm-hmm.
very great control of the technology too, which
Sure, of
nobody
course,
seems to
yeah.
ever. I've never seen many. Of course, I'm going to put. I've never seen anybody mention it. Now I'm going to go out and find a bunch of BB King technique breakdowns mentioning all these. It'll all be there already, so it'll be nothing new. But it's all you know.
Well, and
But
that's a good point that you bring up, though, when you mentioned BB's band, and
mm,
that's something that we have to mention too. As
hell of
part
a
of
band,
BB's sound was that he had that a great
yeah,
band, and
and the big
again
bus.
because he was influenced by guys who played with in big bands like Duke Ellington's bands and stuff like that. So he was already had this big band sort of sound in his head when he was creating his own style of blues.
Mhm.
So when he started putting together bands, I mean, he had bands that were like, 10, 11, 14 guys in some of his bands. And his backup band was like a steamroller, man, just like a steamroller, just slow and steady and heavy and rhythmic and just to be able to keep up with BB and to be able to back up somebody like BB must have been just a thrill for those guys too, even though they're professional musicians.
Well, that's probably why he kept his feet in the ground, because he toured for years in that big bus.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, a
Yeah,
big
Big
old
Red,
bus,
he called it. He called it Big Red.
bus they touring about. Was it a Greyhound bus? It was a big old thing. So they went round that for years.
Hmm.
So if you're with your same team, it's going to pretty much become your family. So they're not going to let you get all up yourself, were they? They're good. Well, who the hell are you? Well, who the hell are you? Well, blah blah blah. There'll be very much a family atmosphere on there, I'd imagine. And of
Yes,
course,
exactly.
he planted family all over the all over the US.
Perhaps.
Yeah,
Perhaps so, yes.
I know he has a lot of kids. Didn't you say he had a heck of a lot of children?
I think a lot of these guys did. A lot of professional musicians as a
I think,
whole, I think, have a lot
yeah,
of kids, when they tour around and
yeah.
live in that
I believe
rock
Screaming.
star lifestyle
Yeah, I
of these
think.
screaming women and whatever.
Yeah, I think Screaming Jay Hawkins had about 52 kids. I think
Yeah,
that something ridiculous like that.
I've heard numbers as high as somewhere in the 50s. Yeah, for Screaming
Yeah.
Jay Hawkins.
So I was amazed he had any energy to go on stage.
Yeah, and
I
put on
woke
this
up
type of
this
show that
morning.
he did too.
Yeah, I woke up this morning. Oh, hello, love. Yeah. God, dear God. Well, that's one thing about the blues, and of course, that's the reason why I learned to play the guitar. Of course, let's not beat about the bush. Picked up the guitar. Ooh, hey, that's we're at the very
Yeah,
age
no,
where you want some signal that
that's
you're a bit different to everybody else, if you know what I mean.
well, that's why a lot of these blues fellas picked up guitars too.
Absolutely.
You
Yeah.
you're a sharecropper on a farm and you live on the farm, and it's a rural area, and once a week, maybe if you're lucky, you can hitch a ride
Mm.
into town and go to a juke joint or something. And there's going to be 20 hardworking guys chasing after the same four girls in this juke joint all the time. So if all of a sudden you can pick up a guitar and play it, well, then you're the number one man in the juke joint, right? So,
Mm. Well, at least you get the man in the room who does something a little different. That's for sure. And never happened to me. He lied.
I mean, there's a reason why BB named his guitar
Yeah,
Lucille after all, and not, Jim or something, right?
that's right. Yeah, yeah. Well, wasn't she killed, Lucille, in the fire?
That I don't know. All I know is the story that I've heard in BB King interviews is that he was playing in a juke joint, and two men got into a fight over a woman named Lucille.
Ah,
And the juke
that's right.
joint caught fire. Everybody got out, but BB
Yeah.
went back to save his guitar, and
Uh,
he could have gotten killed. So he named his guitar after the woman to remind him never to do anything foolish like that ever
I think they
again.
had a yeah. I think didn't they have a barrel of kerosene or something burning in the corner, and it got the fight knocked over the barrel, started a
Well,
fire. Instantly, the place went up. Is that
this would have been
correct?
in the 1940s in rural Mississippi somewhere, or
Mm,
maybe rural Tennessee. So there was no electricity, even in these juke joints. There was no electricity.
gosh.
So everything was lit by kerosene lantern or coal oil lantern. So yeah, a big scuffle knocks over a lantern.
Yeah,
I'm sure
bloody
many
hell.
a juke joint have burned down. Plus, a lot of them had their own stills out back if it was a juke
Mm,
joint out in the country somewhere, and the
wow.
stills would catch fire too, right? So wasn't exactly an easy
Safe.
breezy lifestyle. You know, you have to be careful.
I'm sure
They
safety
worked
laws
hard,
are
but they
the
partied hard too. You know.
yeah. Amazing. What how many
Yeah.
songs? We should examine that. See how many songs we can find that start. I woke up this morning. Um, I bet there aren't that many because it's a sort of classic. I woke up this morning. You know.
Oh, that's woke up this
Uh,
morning probably goes back to I would say the mid 1930s, where blues singers, sort of started singing more, composing and singing blues songs that were more personal or
mm,
self-reflective, instead of singing about mythical characters or folklore figures. Like they used to sing about John Henry died with his hammer in his hand, or hey Joe Turner, gone take your man and gone. All these sort of historical figures or mythical figures. And right around the 1930s, when blues started getting really popular, especially in the South, a lot of blues players started basically taking the framework of those traditional songs and just changing the words, where they would sing about either themselves or a well-known figure in that immediate county or town or city. Um, and it became more of a personalized type of music. And
mm.
that's when they started, singing lines like, I woke up this morning and all I had was gone, or, you know, um, I'm out at the crossroads, the moon's going down and the dawn's going to catch me here. They sort of turn the stories on themselves and they make themselves the centralized character of the story. So it would have been around the mid 30s, is my guess. But who knows how many songs have that line? There's probably hundreds of different songs or different variations that have that line. Are you still there, Monk? I think I lost you. Oh, sorry, folks. We're experiencing some technical difficulties here at Harp and Guitar, People in Music. I see Monk's avatar, but I cannot hear him. We're still live, I think. You folks in the chat still hear me okay? And can you hear Monk? Riff Mago says new blues song, The Monk is Gone. Yeah. Thrill is gone. The monk is gone. Gone away from me. Well, the monk is gone, gone, gone. Gone away from me. Maybe he's just muted himself for a moment because I was rambling on and on, as I tend to. I get excited when I relay these stories.
Hello.
Oh, there he is.
Yeah, sorry, my phone went off. I'm on my computer now. Sorry about that.
Oh, okay. No
Yeah,
problem. Great. Good to
that's
have you
weird.
back.
Yeah, I don't know. I've got two. Oh, I'm on a harp and guitar. Okay, fair enough. Um, yeah, it just went off, so I've totally missed what you said. So pardon me.
That's okay. I was just rambling on. I was just saying that it was probably around the mid 30s where woke up this morning, lines like that started coming up in songs, was in the mid 30s, because that's when the blues artist started making themselves the central figure in their content or their subject matter of their songs, rather than
Okay.
singing about some, legendary figure of the past, some mythical character, right? But as
Yeah. All
far
right. Okay.
as how many songs have woke up this morning in that song or variations of that, there's probably hundreds.
Yeah, it'd be
Easily,
interesting.
probably hundreds. I mean, the most famous is Muddy Waters, of course, but I'm sure that's been around since the mid 30s.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how many there are. Because you think there's certain things that are real blues. Are they? I woke up this morning, or Will, or
Oh
oh
yeah,
yeah,
the whale
yeah,
that goes
that's yeah,
way
yeah.
back, and you'll hear
And,
some blues singers will start a song like that, like Muddy, for example, right?
mm,
The whale.
Mm.
But there were some blues singers that would use that almost at the beginning of every line. Like Robert Johnson often would say, well, well, I was this and that and this and that. And well, blah, 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 that kind of thing. And there was a guy named Petey Wheatstraw who billed
Petey
himself.
Wheats.
He billed himself as the devil's son-in-law and the high sheriff of hell. And
Okay.
he was a huge influence on Robert Johnson. And Petey Wheatstraw played slide guitar, but he also played piano. And he would often start a phrase or a line in a song by saying, well, well, and then he would sing the line. And then the next line he would, well, well, again. And that was almost like his calling card for Petey Wheatstraw. And I think that's the first that I can remember hearing that sort of well or that well kind of really employed a lot. And I think because Petey was a huge influence on a lot of sort of musicians of the late 30s, like the Robert Johnson kind of guys, that you started hearing it a lot more. And then the blues shouters got a hold of it, and guys like Muddy and Big Joe Turner would just do the well, or Otis Rush, for example, in the beginning of I Can't Quit You, Baby. He holds that well for like 12 seconds or something crazy.
Mm.
And then he jumps into I Can't Quit You, Baby. It's amazing. Otis Rush, another great blues guitarist who was influenced by B.B. King.
I'll have to write a blues song. I know a friend of mine did a Talkin number, which is unrepeatable. Yeah, so I'll have to let you hear it. I can't quite remember it, but we used to put on these shows. We were at a karate club, and the guy who taught us karate was a drummer, and he wrote the the self-abuse blues, which was quite entertaining.
Self-abuse blues, eh? It's got a
Oh
nice
yeah,
ringtone, actually.
yeah, it was. I can't, oh, dear God, I woke up this morning with a throbbing head. I looked down at the sheets. There's a tent instead. Now, so my pajamas had started to poke. I couldn't help myself. So anyway, it's all about the autoerotica. Good grief.
Sure,
Oh,
self-gratification. Hey, why not?
indeed, indeed. Well, anyway, so well, let's face it, that's what rock and roll is, isn't it? Alluding to, isn't that what you said? Rock and roll.
Yeah. Well, that's what
Yeah,
the
sorry.
term rock and roll comes from.
Yeah, rock and roll is nookie. So yeah,
Yeah,
it's
rock
interesting.
and
So
roll is nookie. That's right. In the
yeah,
blues, rock
it,
and
it
roll, or just either or. Just like I want to rock you, baby, or I want
yeah,
you to roll me, daddy.
a
That
wang
just
dang doodle all night long. Whatever.
yeah, it was just a double entendre for
Yeah,
nookie.
yeah. Of course, over here in the UK, Nookie was a bear in the 80s, so don't get confused.
Ah, okay, there you go.
Nookie Bear, yeah, but it was obviously why they called it Nookie. You've never heard of Nookie Bear, would you?
No, I don't know what
Well,
the hell you're talking about, man.
well, is it? Yeah, Roger De Courcy and Nookie Bear. Good grief.
Oh,
God,
Riff Magos is quoting Johnny Cash here. There's a
I
quote.
woke
Well, I
up this
woke up this
morning.
morning and I had something on my face. It was still there when I brushed my teeth, still there when I shaved. Really? What the hell song is that from?
Don't
Or
know.
did he just say that? That's kind of cool, though, actually.
Mm, it was still
Well,
there.
I woke up this morning, I had something on my face. It was still there when I brushed my teeth, still there when I shaved. I like Johnny Cash. He's cool. I can't sing like him.
You know, Johnny Cash, big influence on the Clash.
Johnny Cash was a big influence on a lot of people.
Mm,
A lot of punk rockers, a lot of heavy metal
yeah,
guys, a lot of
my
rock and roll guys, and a lot of
mm,
blues guys. He palled around with a lot of those early
yeah,
bluesmen.
yeah. Johnny Green. I used to work with Johnny Green. He was well, actually, that's not his real name. But anyway, Johnny Green was the road manager of the Clash. And he told me all sorts about the Clash. And I used to treasure these stories. And then the bugger wrote the book about it. And I thought, oh.
Yeah, now everybody hears these cool stories.
Yeah, I used to tell people what my friend told me, and they go, "Get away, that's not true," and it's all published now. So bloody hell.
Oh,
Anyway,
Riff is saying that the Johnny Cash song is called "Give It Away."
give it
Okay,
away. Yeah.
not to be confused with the Red Hot Chili Peppers tune "Give It Away." Give it away, give it away, give it away now. That's, I'm sure, a
Oh,
completely different song. At least I would hope so. I can't imagine Johnny Cash singing it that way.
Screaming Jay Hawkins, I'm going to give the world constipation blues.
Screaming Jay Hawkins has a lot of songs,
Yeah,
hundreds as well, because he's been recording since the 50s also.
he's still alive.
No, he passed fairly recently, I think, within the last 10 years or so.
I'll Google it.
He didn't
Google it.
pass as recently as our dearly departed B.B. King, but I'm pretty sure he passed maybe about 10 years ago or so. Of course, B.B. King just passed away on May 14th of 2015 at the age of 89. He was almost 90.
2000 he died, February 12th in France.
Oh, geez, almost 20 years. Wow. I got to brush up on my...
I put a spell on you. There you go.
Just put the whammy on me is my favorite Screaming Jay Hawkins song.
Top numbers. I put a spell on it. Constipation Blues, Alligator Wine, it says here. Freaky Theatrics of Screaming Jay Hawkins.
Oh, yeah. Everything Alice Cooper was doing in the 80s and 90s and 70s, Screaming Jay Hawkins was doing in the 50s and 60s.
Was he the one with the coffin?
The coffin, the bone through his nose, the voodoo charms, the skulls, the snakes, the fog machine, the lightning machines. Yeah, Riff is saying shock rock came from Screamin' Jay, pretty much. Combining theatrics with musicianship, and he was a hell of a musician, a great, powerful voice, again, steeped in gospel, and a fantastic piano player. Screamin' Jay could play a mean blues piano. He played a hell of a boogie woogie, but he could also play sort of that sort of up tempo Memphis sort of piano blues, kind of like Ike Turner played, where it's sort of like a boogie woogie, but not quite as intricate and doesn't have as many interwoven polyrhythms and that sort of thing. It's more of a in your face, straight up sort of piano, like a. It's hard to explain. Well, what do you say, pal? Ready to wind things down here a bit?
Yeah, I'm ready to go back to bed. I got dressed in the middle of all that.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, well, I've got myself up, so I'll get a coffee.
Well, it's still really early there. It's still not even 6 a.m. there. So
it's 5:45 here.
Yeah.
So well,
maybe before we wrap it up, if it's all right with you, I just want to read a little excerpt here from a book. It's just quickly talking about B.B. King, if I may.
Bien sûr, mon ami.
So it says King's recording career began in 1949 when he cut 4 sides, that's 4 songs, for the Nashville-based Bullet Records label. None of these songs made much of an impression on black record buyers. But in 1951, he recorded at Sam Phillips' Sun Studio for Modern/RPM Records, and then later that year at the Memphis YMCA. One of the songs from the latter sessions, 3 O'Clock Blues, launched King to blues stardom. The record lodged itself in the #1 slot on the R&B charts and stayed there for 17 weeks.
Wow.
King's startling success enabled him to go on tour and play as far north as the Apollo Theater in New York City. This is 1951, mind you.
Wow.
There were 3 more #1 hits. You Know I Love You in 1952, Please Love Me in 1953, and You Upset Me, Baby in 1954, all on the RPM label. During the early and mid-1950s, King recorded prolifically, as he was to do throughout most of his career. Many of his best recordings were not original songs, but interpretations of songs penned by other blues composers, such as Lowell Folsom, who wrote 3 O'Clock Blues, as well as Memphis Slim, who wrote Every Day I Have the Blues, which King turned into a hit in 1955. So he had a hit a year, basically, starting in 1951. From Tampa Red, King got Sweet Little Angel, one of his signature pieces. And King was able to breathe new life into these songs and others with his increasingly sculptured guitar work and his powerful vocals. So there you go. Just a little excerpt from a book called The Big Book of Blues by Robert Santilli.
Cool. Incredible.
So I think we're ready to wind things down, but I just want to wish our dearly departed hero, Mr. Riley B. King, the Beale Street Blues Boy, B.B. King, a happy birthday on this September the 16th, 2018. I want to thank all of you for joining myself and, of course, my partner in crime here, Monk Music, at Harp and Guitar, People in Music. What do you have to say there, Monk?
Well, I'm very, very tired, but I think the next month is going to be spent studying B.B. King and trying to see how he puts his riffs together. So thank you very much, B.B. King.
Yes, thank you, B.B. Thank you for taking the blues out of the dark corners of the taverns and clubs and into the spotlight, the global spotlight of the blues all around the world.
Yeah, great. It's just great. As I keep saying that, it's just great.
It is. I don't know what I would do without the blues.
I don't know either.
Probably lose my marbles.
Yeah, well. Great. B.B. King month, September. Actually, it's halfway through September, isn't it? 17.
So,
Well,
I
it's the
think I have
16th.
I think I have a copy of B.B. King's 3 O'Clock Blues on a 78. I should
Really?
record that and upload it here onto the channel.
Yeah, cool.
I'll try and get that done in the next day or so here.
That'd be cool. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so I want to thank everybody in the chat for coming by, and for those of you that were listening in, and those of you that'll come by later on and listen in on the upload of the stream here. And if you haven't already, please like and share the stream. If you get a chance, head over to our channel's homepage at Harp and Guitar, People in Music, and if you see what you like, please give us a subscribe. Hit the thumbs up, subscribe. We're always putting out new content. So any final words there, my pal, before you...
Not really, just listen to the blues and keep it all going, because it's a shame it's that not enough people listen to this wonderful art form, and it's just stunning. And you can join in with it. It's a take part thing, this, It's great.
Yes, it's definitely an audience participation kind of music.
3 chords and 5 notes, and you're aware, and that's not by any means belittling the entire thing. It's absolutely accessible by anyone.
Sure, and it's the type of music that if you're feeling down and sad, well, you can play a sad and sort of forlorn style. If you're feeling happy and energetic, well, you can play a jump blues or a boogie woogie. It's the type of music that fits into whatever mood you're feeling. And that's one of the beauties of this unique musical art form that we love so much. So once again, thanks a lot, everybody, for joining us here at Harp and Guitar, People in Music. And my thanks, as always, to my partner in crime and my good pal, Monk Music. Monk, I couldn't do it without you, so thank you. I appreciate it.
No, thank you.
All right, everyone. Have yourselves a good night, and thanks again for joining us. Take care, everyone. We'll talk to you again soon.